Hello, hello everyone. Good evening and welcome to IPSI's Forum on Israel, Africa, and Black America. I am your host, Joshua Washington, the Executive Director of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. And we have a lot to get into today. If this is your first time tuning in and you never heard of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel before, uh, welcome. You can learn more about us by visiting our website. Go to ibsi.org and you can see our mission, our purpose, why we do what we do. You can look at documents, other things that are lots of information on our website, even the founding documents of another organization from the 70s that inspired IPSI. All that stuff you can find on our website. You can also go to our Substack to get more in depth, ibsi.substack.com, to our Africa Israel weekly newsletter. And that has articles. We even have podcast episodes. We'll be doing more soon. You can get more in depth, dive in. A lot of articles written by our CEO and founder, written by myself, written by our late board member, and others as well. That's really the place to go if you want to learn more about us. And if you do know about us and you want to support us and you haven't yet, or you want to support us in a more comprehensive way, you can become a legacy builder. Da, 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 da. A legacy builder is someone who gives a monthly amount to IPSI, usually someone who, they may not be able to give something big in one lump sum, but they give something, monthly, like for instance, $18 a month, $30 a month, or, maybe instead of having a subscription to that streaming service you rarely use, you take that and you give monthly to IPSI instead. That is what that's for. We greatly appreciate that. If you're able to do that, that'd be amazing. I'll talk more about that in a moment. Also, you can visit our merch store. If you want to support IPSI and have something to write home about, something to show for it, you can get a Legacy Builder t-shirt, you get a mug. We have lots of merchandise. We have journals, we have mugs, we have other t-shirts, other Legacy Builders, and other t-shirts as well. Check it out. Get your stuff, ibsi.org/store. Okay, few announcements. First of all, there's lots of stuff already coming up in 2026. I'm just going to hit a few things. February 1st, I, along with our CEO and founder, will be at Valley Beth Shalom in Southern California for an amazing event called Africa to Israel, our Bridge to Zion. It is going to be an event filled with music and with powerful speaking. As you see, Pastor Dumisan Washington is the keynote speaker. I myself, Joshua, aka Joe Davi, that's my stage name. I'll be there performing music with my band and singers and collaborating with a choir that's been put together by another amazing conductor named Noreen, sorry. And we are putting on a huge production. It's going to be amazing. I'll be performing songs that I don't usually perform live from my Zion album and others. So get ready for that, February 1st. Get your register for that, and we would love to see you there. Also, for those of you know my late wife, most of y'all who've been following IPSI, all of you who've been following us for more than a year, know who Olga, or knew who Olga was. Olga Mishway Washington was our board member. She was our Speakers Bureau chief. She was my wife and the mother of my two sons. She passed away January 6th of this year. Her yahrzeit was just a few days ago. Yahrzeit is the year of her passing on the Hebrew calendar. It fell on December 26th this year, which was the 6th of Tevet, which is the day that she died last year, which also happened to be the day that we got married now 8 years ago. She died 7 years to the day that we got married. So we commemorated her here at home. I'll be in Israel in about a week. We'll be unveiling her tombstone, her headstone, and all that in the beginning of January. But there's been a lot going on with that. I've been writing a lot of music. I was on a world tour called Journey to Healing. It started in Jerusalem with incredible Israeli musicians. I had a whole band and string quartet and horns. It was just an incredible way to start the tour. And then my tour ended in my old hometown in Stockton, California. I have those songs I put onto an album. So the album's out. The album is called The End of Time. It's an EP. with all songs on there that I've written since Olga passed. It's available now. It's not on the streaming services yet. So you go to jodavi.bandcamp.com. You can listen to it there. You can download it there. It's not on Apple Music or on Spotify, nothing like that right now. It's just on jodavi.bandcamp.com. That's where you can go to listen and download and check it out. Especially that the song on there, The End of Time, and the other one, Young Man, Old Man. I've heard so much feedback from people who are also grieving that it's been helping them get through their own grief as well. So if you want to check out that album, jodavi.bandcamp.com, and give it a listen, you guys. I really appreciate the support and love you've shown to me and my family in this very dark season that we are in, although we continue to navigate through. Okay, lastly, but definitely not least, the Young Leaders Conference in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, February 12th through the 14th. Young Leaders Conference. We are going to have an amazing, I'm so excited for this, you guys. Listen, this is coming up. We are going to be there with leaders from all over the continent, from different parts of the U.S. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible. And we are just about halfway through to our $200,000 goal. We are at about $100,000, and we need your help to make it all the way. In order to do that, again, like I said in the very beginning, you can become a legacy builder. That's one of the biggest ways that you can help support IPSI is by signing up, ibsi.org/donate, and just set up $20 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month if you can. And I'm going to talk about this as we go along, because I see people are still coming in now. We have about around 80 people in. Usually by the end of this, we have a lot more, but I want to let you know that we are about halfway to our goal. We need to raise $200,000 in order to make this whole thing happen and to bring all the people that we need to bring for this amazing conference. You can be a part of that right now by going to ibsi.org/donate and setting up a monthly giving amount, becoming a legacy builder, and helping us make this happen. There's a lot going on when it comes to Israel and Africa, and what's really shifting here, what's shifting away from the West and back to the East. We'll be getting into that today, actually. So I'm going to talk about some stuff today and then come back to the conference just to tie it in, because what's happening here is it really is a move of God, and IPSI just happens to be here at the center of all this, or in it, facilitating and doing what we've always been doing, but now it's becoming more and more crucial, the work that we do. So, okay, all that said, let's begin. I want to first start off with the statement that IPSI just released yesterday in regards to the Trump administration's strike on Nigeria. Ostensibly, the administration came out and said that they attacked and they killed terrorists, ISIS terrorists, Boko Haram terrorists, and there's some things about that don't seem to be true or add up. So I'm going to read for you our statement, and then we're going to go from there. Okay. So this is our statement that just came out in our Substack, our Africa Israel Weekly Substack, in regards to the strikes in northern Nigeria. It goes like this. On Wednesday, December 25th, 2025, the United States government, in coordination with the Nigerian government, conducted airstrikes on what they call terrorist targets in northwest Nigeria. As of the time of this statement, it is unclear if there are any casualties as a result of the U.S. attacks. In fact, multiple reports from various news sources state that the missile strikes hit open areas where there were no terrorists present. Decades before the existence of IPSI, founder Dumisani Washington advocated for Christians in Sudan and other parts of Africa who were and still are being persecuted by Islamic jihadists. Neither Dumisani nor IPSI have ever sought U.S. military intervention in Africa. What both Dumisani and IPSI have done is encourage the U.S. government to condemn and even sanction African governments and officials who are engaging in religious persecution. Further, IPSI has condemned the U.S. government's role in funding jihadist groups such as Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, ISIS, and many more. IPSI has also underscored the role that U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, may very well have played in further increasing terrorist activity in Africa since its creation in 2007. According to former AFRICOM commander General Michael Langley, 43% of global terrorist attacks happen on the African continent, the highest in the world. In 2007, when AFRICOM was formed, that figure was 2%. Finally, it's been widely reported since 2015 that Nigeria's military and police are heavily infiltrated by jihadists or those sympathetic to jihadist groups like Boko Haram and the Fulani herdsmen. If these reports are true, it is unwise for the U.S. government to coordinate attacks with the Nigerian government, as they will likely mirror the faux U.S. attacks on ISIS in Syria. IPSI calls on the Trump administration to demonstrate moral consistency and leadership by refusing to support any government that persecutes Christians, by ending all U.S. taxpayer funds to terrorist organizations, and by using all diplomatic and economic tools at its disposal to achieve the goal of religious freedom. Why did IPSI put out that statement? It's saying what we've been saying for the past few months. We talked about it last week at our forum and the last forum before that. Our cozying up to Qatar, which is the seat of the Muslim Brotherhood, Qatar, which is one of the three big main funders of terrorism in the world, Iran, Qatar, and Turkey. That is emboldening the terrorism that we're seeing on the African continent. So for the U.S. to pretend like we're doing something about Christian persecution in Nigeria, but we continue to support Qatar, train their Air Force base, we continue to allow them to fund our universities, we buy real estate in their country, all that is doing is, for the people who are suffering in Nigeria, we're telling them, screw you guys, we're going to do what we want to do. So Nigeria continues to burn, while one of the main benefactors of the terrorism in Nigeria is buddies with the United States. This is what's going on. Africa sees this very clearly. Israel sees this very clearly. The only people who don't see it very clearly are us Westerners. Whether we hate Israel or we love Israel, there's a lot of us who do not see what's really going on here and how this is radically shifting power from the West back to the East. What do I mean by that? We're going to get into that right now. So in light of all this, there was another article that came out in our Africa Israel Week. I'm telling you guys, if you're not subscribed to our Substack, that is like, you need to. I would say our mailing list and our Substack are the two things that one of those two things, but definitely both of them, you should be subscribed to get information as quickly as possible. We are always writing and updating and recording and all those things, and you need to be informed. But in our Substack, our CEO put out today, it's called "Israel is Unhitching Its Military from the U.S. Africa Should Do the Same." And you need to log in, read the article, become a subscriber to the Substack, become a paid subscriber, support us. That's another way you can support IPSI. In light of what I just told you about what's happening in Nigeria, that's not the only thing that's going on. Just recently, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who spoke at a graduation ceremony of Air Force pilots. It's a beautiful speech, but then he says to the Air Force graduates in this speech that he approved, along with the defense minister and finance minister, a sum of 350 billion shekels, which is about $108 billion, over the next decade to build an independent Israeli munitions industry. This is huge. And this is huge because this is something that is me personally and IPSI as well, all of us in terms of on the ground and culturally, and even just on a personal friend-to-friend basis, we've been hearing this sentiment in Israel amongst his different Israeli friends of ours for a while now. You have your usually it's on the right, but both left and right. You have both Israel haters on the left and the right saying that Israel needs to stop the United States needs to stop supporting Israel. The United States is just giving money to Israel willy-nilly, and Israel's committing war crimes. And they do that over and over again, not realizing, first of all, the whole war crimes thing was absolutely false. But then the second thing is that the United States is not just giving handouts to Israel. The United States also benefits from it by getting intel from Israel and other things. I mean, there's a lot that the Israel offers the United States that's what an allyship is. The money that is given to Israel, they can only spend on U.S. products. So it's like a gift card, really. They can't go and get weapons from anywhere else. And so it's a relationship that is solely between the two. And so it's not true that it's just donations, right? Now, the U.S. does willy-nilly give money to the government in Gaza, right? Willing to give money to the Palestinian Authority. I mean, lots of countries just willy-nilly give money to the PA, but that's not what's happening in Israel. People say that all the time, but here's the thing: is that there are a lot of Israelis that echo the same sentiment, not in that the U.S. is just giving us donations, but in that we need to stop being so dependent on another country for our survival. Because what's been happening is, especially since October 7th, but it's been happening even before that, is whenever Israel's at war, Israel can't just do what it needs to do. It has to get approval from the U.S. Why? Because their munitions come from the U.S. They have to get approval from whoever the president is to do this, to move here, to make this act. Can we move into this place in Gaza? And if the U.S., if whoever's in charge of the White House, if they say no, guess what? Israel's hands are tied. So now you're fighting a war on multiple fronts with enemies around you who have to kill you, and your weapons and your permission are coming from a country that may or may not support you, depending on who's in office and what their attitude is. And for a while, Israelis have said, you know what, Israel haters, we actually agree with you. We need to stop depending on the U.S. for that. As a matter of fact, my Jewish friends that I've talked to over the years, especially my Russian and Ukrainian ones, have told me, the term "never again," it's very specific. It doesn't just mean, oh, never should the Holocaust happen again. Deeper than that, never again should we outsource our safety to somebody else. So there are Israelis who know their history who say the level at which we are dependent on the U.S. government for our protection defies never again, because we are outsourcing our safety to somebody else. It doesn't matter how great of a friendship we have. What we're doing flies in the face of the slogan that we came up with, which was, we will never again rely on somebody else to protect us. So this move by Bibi is a move that has been reflected, but now not everybody agrees. I'm not saying all Israelis are on board, but I am telling you that there's sentiment on the ground that says someone's way past due. There's sentiment on the ground that, you know what, this should have been done a long time ago. Even when relations were good between us, this should have been done a long time ago. The preparations for this should have already started, right? So there are a lot of Israelis that believe that this is kind of late. We need to do this as quickly as possible. And so Israel has some of their best minds on this to build these facilities so that they can start manufacturing their own weapons, their own aerial weapons, all that kind of stuff. Because part of the reason why the war was dragged out so long is because the U.S. would not allow Israel to do what they need to do. Now, let's mirror that, or let's kind of draw a parallel here. The same thing happened in Nigeria. Okay, when the Nigerian government under Goodluck Jonathan, this was back in 2013, when they were fighting against Boko Haram, not only did, at the time, the Obama-led White House not allow Israel to assist them, I should say, because Israel tried to provide weapons to the government to fight Boko Haram, because the whole "bring back our girls" thing. Not only did the U.S. block that, because Israel has to get permission before helping any other country, but then what the Nigerian government, the things that they did do to actually eliminate Boko Haram terrorists, it was condemned by John Kerry at the time. It was condemned by the Obama administration as violating the human rights, I kid you not, of Boko Haram and the Fulani herdsmen. Violating their human rights. So now the U.S. condemns. So now this kind of feels like the Arab-Israeli conflict, doesn't it? Does it not? So now the government in Nigeria are fighting these terrorists who have kidnapped these girls, who are slaughtering Christians, and then the U.S. steps in and says, "Oh, no. So you can't do that." Israel says, we can help them. No, you can't help them, Israel. Nigeria's like, we'll do it ourselves. Nope, you can't do that. Okay, so what are you actually doing? Okay, so Michelle Obama's first tweet was, bring back our girls. Remember, that was her first tweet when Twitter was not X. When it was Twitter, she had a sign that said, bring our girls. That was her first tweet. And I remember there was a lot of flack. People were like, your husband is the president? So maybe there's a little bit more you guys can do than just tweet a sign that says, bring back our girls. Then we come to find out not only is the U.S. government not doing anything to sanction Nigeria, or to, again, just allow someone else to help, they block it. So the dumpster fire that Nigeria is right now, the slaughtering of Christians, how it's ramped up, how the Islamist population is eclipsing the Christian population now, that Christians are being killed by the thousands every year. Churches are being burned down. I said before, pastors are being beheaded in front of their congregants. People are being locked in their churches while the churches are burned down. All the people being raped, killed, brainwashed, and forced to blow themselves up. In Nigeria, those girls who were kidnapped, the Chibok girls who were kidnapped in Nigeria, just last year, 3 of them were suicide bombers and killed over a dozen people at a wedding, a funeral, and a hospital, courtesy of Boko Haram, and nothing being done about bring back our girls. This was a train wreck that could have been avoided several times. The U.S. blocked it. Why? Because Israel can't do the things it needs to do without the approval of the U.S. And because, again, Nigeria also is not an independent, cannot independently do these things without sanctions and condemnation. So the title of our latest Substack is not just that Israel is unhitching its military from the U.S. Africa should do the same. Some African countries are already on this, like President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. It's interesting. He is a Sunni Muslim, and he, though, has multiple times has talked about a few things. He said, you know what? First of all, I remember this in one of the interviews he gave. If your military is financed by another country, then it's not your military. If your military can only do what the leaders feel like it needs to do with the permission of another country, then it's not your military. And if you don't have a military, you don't really have a country. So this president has been working to liberate, to make Burkina Faso independent of these foreign entities that keep trying to manipulate not just Burkina Faso, but Africa in general. And he, as a president, has multiple times stated that we are going to stamp out the terrorism that plagues Africa. And he blames foreign governments for allowing terrorism to run rampant in Africa as a way of keeping Africa under their control. Again, it strikes me because like this is a president, and it also goes to show that there are lots of Muslims like him who just want to live life. They really are, and he's one of them. He's the president of Burkina Faso. He's saying these radical Islamists, these jihadists, are keeping Africa on fire, and Western powers are. He's not asking, again, same thing. He's not asking the U.S. to come in and send planes and drones and take him out. He's saying these Western powers are prohibiting us from responding as a way to keep us under their thumb. So we need to develop our own military, which we should have had a long time ago, that's under our control, develop our own weapons, have our own border security so that we can fight these terrorists without having to face consequences of sanctions and things like that. Forget sanctions. We'll make our own money. We'll have our own, we'll be strong, right? We talked about what happened last year when BRICS was formed. Same thing. You know what? As a coalition, we actually have a stronger economy than these Western countries. We need to come together and support each other and be independent and be able to do things for ourselves. So Israel is taking those steps now, and we're seeing some African countries are doing that as well, and we're happy to see it, and we hope it happens more. You guys, I'll keep on saying this, power is shifting away from the West, not to mention the fact that all these other things that are plaguing us internally, there's no way that we can survive. There's no way that within the next couple of generations, the U.S., even just in terms of population, by 2050, there are multiple studies that have been done that the vast majority of the world's Christians will be on the continent of Africa and in South America, that the vast majority of young people, just in terms of numbers, will be in Africa. Our numbers are dwindling, mainly because we're not having as many kids. And that's just culturally, that's what's going on. Who's having a lot of kids outside of the West? Muslims, African Christians, African Muslims, um, and more like usually more like Orthodox Jews, Israelis, things like that. But not us in the West though. We're not doing that. We're weakening, and while we're trying to dictate to Israel what they can and can't do, while we are tying up Africa's hands, while jihadists continue to come in and slaughter people and enslave. There are over 2 million slaves that are just being passed around just in a few countries in Africa. We're just talking about Sudan and Mauritania and Algeria. And this continues with the enabling of the United States and the Western world. So Israel is taking a stance that many Israelis and even pro-Israel Zionist Israel supporters here in the U.S. we're happy to see. You know, in Israel, unhitch, because you need to be able to do what you need to do, and this war would not have lasted as long if you were able to do what you needed to do. They shouldn't have to be able to balance who's in power in the U.S. in order uh, to protect their borders. I mean, look, we always, you know, the Jew haters on the right they do this whole America first, America first, America first facade. Okay, if you truly are America first, then you should be happy about the fact that Israel is unhitching from the U.S. And you know what? Just like we're America first, they need to be Israel first. Every country needs to put their country first. That's how you survive. So we'll see. We'll continue to monitor how this unfolds. But yeah, we're happy to see this. So incidents like what happened in Nigeria won't happen. Incidents like what happened in Syria, where Israel was helping Syria, especially its Druze and its Christians, the religious minorities in Syria who are being slaughtered by al-Jilani's new government. The U.S. condemned Israel for doing that. How are you going to care about a condemnation if you have your own stuff? You don't have to worry about Israel not giving you the weapons you need if you have your own weapons. Okay, condemn us all you want. We're going to do what we need to do, right? So that's what's been going on. Now I'm going to pause here for a second as people are coming in to reiterate this. As this shift is happening right now, as Israel and Africa are coming closer together and really rekindling a very synergetic spiritual bond that has existed since almost the beginning of time. IPSI is right now on one of the players just at the helm of, not the helm, like controlling what's going on, but IPSI is here in this moment in time as a facilitator, as a connector, and as someone who is highlighting this for the world, as much of the world as we can show to see what's happening here. And one of the ways we are doing that is by our 2026 Young Leaders Conference in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. We are taking young people from different parts of Africa and from different parts of the US to Ethiopia for this conference. It is going to be a conference that covers so many different layers: business, tech, cultural things, everything. We're gonna counter terrorism, and we're going to also facilitate discussions and also just allow discussions to happen between these young, very bright, very intelligent, on fire leaders from all over the world, Africans on the continent and in the diaspora, coming together, converging in Ethiopia to have these discussions, to move forward and put into place what needs to be put into place for the shift that's happening. It's going to be, it's such, I can't even express to you how huge something like that, and partly because I don't even know fully. Like I'm excited to see how this unfolds. I know some of what's gonna. I know there's definitely things that are going to happen there that we're helping put together as IPSI, but the synergy, what comes out of this, is going to ring in eternity. And you have the opportunity to be a part of that, to help us build something that will ring eternally. In order for you to do that, you can go to ibsi.org/donate. Become a legacy builder. Set it up even right now under the sound of my voice. $20, $30, $40 a month. We have about 180 people who are watching this right now, and it's climbing up. If everyone who's listening to me right now became a legacy builder and you gave something like, let's say, $40 a month, that would make a huge difference for IPSI. We are halfway to our goal of being fully funded for this conference. We are about at $100,000. We need another 100K to make this happen, and you can help us make it happen right now. You can help us make this happen right now as we are sitting and having this discussion, you guys. and all the things that are going on, and all of the, again, things that will ring eternal, things that will go down it may not be in a history book, but will be recorded in heaven. This is one of those things that you would definitely need to be a part of. And if you want to do that, which I urge you to, right now, go to ibsi.org/donate and set up a legacy builder, uh, a monthly legacy builder giving schedule right now. So I'm going to pause for a moment. You can scan the QR code with your phone right there up in the corner. I'm just giving you guys a minute to do it. When you donate, there's an option you'll see on a drop-down menu, YLC 2026. You could give it so it goes straight to the conference. That's how you can change it. So, you'll see when you go to donate, there'll be a drop-down that says general donation, whatever. YLC, that's the Young Leaders Conference. YLC 2026. That's where you can click and set up your monthly donation. Okay? If you've done it, if you did it, drop it in the comments and say, I did it. Would love to see that as we go on. So if you did it, if you already set it up, if you're doing it now, then drop it in the comments. And after you do it, drop it in the comments and say, I did it. Love to see you guys do that. All right. All right. So, all right. I'm looking for that first comment, you guys. It only takes a couple of seconds. You can use your phone or go to ibsi.org/donate. All right. Okay, moving on for now. I'm going to be looking at this comment section, y'all. I'm going to be looking at it. So, a couple of quick things. I'm going to back up just for a moment and recap this because this is very important. So, if you read a couple of weeks ago, there's an article on our Substack called Blood on Our Hands Part 2. It was actually a couple months ago. It was right after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And it talked about what happened on that same day that he was assassinated. And on that same day he was assassinated is when the president of Syria was welcomed to the U.S. with open arms, rolled out on the red carpet. Trump talks about how he's great and amazing and and our relationship with Syria, while Christians and Druze and other religious minorities are being slaughtered in Nigeria under this man's government. I'm sorry, slaughtered in Syria under this man's government. And some of the things that it highlights is that, again, like I said before, Israel could have prevented what's happening in Nigeria now, but the U.S. blocked it. Oh, I hope you guys can still see me. It froze for a second. Israel had been aiding Syria, and the U.S. condemned it. Sorry, you guys, my screen here. The U.S. also condemned the Nigerian government under Goodluck Jonathan for eliminating Boko Haram terrorists. Again, like we said, citing human rights violations. Okay, just a complete inversion of the truth. What's the common denominator here? The U.S. So not only has the U.S., like Ibrahim Traore, president of Burkina Faso, has been accusing them of, not only has the U.S. and other foreign countries been meddling in the African continent's affairs, meddling in these African countries' affairs, but they actively stop those and condemn those who are trying to help or better the situation. That's the common denominator, and it won't stop here. We're doing it to ourselves. We're doing it to ourselves. While the Trump administration pretends like they're doing something about terrorism in Nigeria, they continue to support Qatar, who funds the terrorism in Nigeria. Do you understand what's going on here? So it's window dressing. It's a hollow gesture. Doesn't mean anything. We do continue to advocate for the religious minorities in Africa, the Christians, those who are being enslaved, continue to. What our administration is doing is not anything that helps that situation. It's attempting to look as though they're doing it so they can continue to fund Qatar and get the benefits from all that, which is why, like I said before, why actors like Tucker Carlson are they show their hand very easily. I mean, he just bought a house in Qatar, right? He's obviously we have the receipts, we've seen the checks. He gets paid from this government to prop the government up, to spit on Israel, to spit on Christians who support Israel, to undermine what's going on in the West, and to pretend like other people are being foreign actors and what's the word, having dual loyalty, right? He literally has dual loyalty because he is doing the bidding of the Qatari government from the U.S. while he accuses others of doing the same, right? A lot of people are selling out because of money or whatever, usually because of the money, and we're doing it to ourselves, so of course we're doing it to others, right? We're doing it to ourselves. We're compromising ourselves for the reasons that our leaders have. We've been compromising other countries for quite a while, and this is from the left side of the aisle to the right side of the aisle. It was very well known in Nigeria that President Barack Obama and his administration meddled in the Nigerian elections, right? Meddled in them, campaigned for Buhari to lead. Buhari, who was at the helm of all the Islamic slaughtering that was going on. And even I remember a video that President Obama made that was proliferated in Nigeria. And at the end of the video, he said, to keep Nigeria one is a task that must be done. And a few of our Igbo friends reached out to us to let us know that what he just said is a phrase that was said regularly during the Biafra War, where a lot of Igbo were being slaughtered, right? Meaning because a lot of them are considered to be Hebrew. And it's just like you have the Jews in Ethiopia, the Jews in Europe, or you have the persecution of the Jews that's been happening. And some of those are Christians. They were not seen as Nigerian. They were seen as, like, the Ethiopian term is falasha, right? Outsiders. And so to keep Nigeria one as a task that must be done is something that was said while Igbo were being slaughtered. Now, he said, our friends who reached out to us said, we're not accusing him of doing that on purpose, but whoever wrote his speech, whoever gave it to him, that's not good. That's like a calling card for these people, right? So we've been meddling in elections, we've been meddling in affairs for a while. And what's happening now is that's coming back on us. We are compromising ourselves while we allow Qatar to build an Air Force base in Idaho. What? So we don't do anything about them funding and to the billions our Ivy League schools, pumping up our textbooks for our students with anti-Western, anti-Christian, anti-God, anti-Israel propaganda. Nothing about that. We're not cutting off it. We're not doing any of that kind of stuff. But we're cozying up to them. We're allowing them to be trained by our military while we pretend, like, while we sanction Nigeria and pretend like we're doing something over there, while we throw South Africa under the bus. I said before, we took South Africa to task. Our President Trump sat across from President Cyril Ramaphosa in South Africa and embarrassed him on the world stage for the internal problems, and then for taking Israel to the International Court of Justice, to the ICJ. Only problem is, yes, and that wasn't right. I'm not saying South Africa's government is absolved from that. That was wrong. But the problem is to only focus on South Africa and then to ignore the entity that gave South Africa the money and the bribe to do that in the first place. That's duplicitous. So you're going to continue to be friends with Qatar, who funded South Africa to do it, but then you're going to give South Africa a tongue lashing and condemnation and sanctioning for doing it in the first place. That's duplicitous. That is duplicitous. That is a bait and switch. That's not real. It's more window dressing. All this, while this is going on, the future is Africa, Israel. The future is Israel, Africa. The future is Africa and Israel. The future is Queen Makeda and King Solomon. That's what the future is. And the more African leaders see this, the more Israel sees this, which we see that now with this next 10 years of Israel actually building up their own military or their own munitions infrastructure, the more we're going to see this shift be a real time thing. And it's going to mean more stability in the Middle East, more stability on the continent of Africa. And we're happy to see it. Speaking of that, I have a video to show you. This just happened. Israel recognizes Somaliland's independence. I want to show you this video now. Producer, if you can pull it up, and you guys take a look at this. Okay, while she's doing that, just let me know when you're ready, producer. This, like I said, this is just happened now. So I just saw this video earlier today. Then I read a couple articles on it. Like I said, it's all that's going on right now. If you're not paying attention, you're going to miss it in a huge way. But power really is shifting. So, producer, if we can't pull it up, just let me know. Just text me or send a message. Let me know if it won't work. But if so, I really love to show this to everyone. Just let me know. Okay. Give us just a second, you guys, while that's coming up. While that's being pulled up, again, we are preparing to go to Ethiopia in February for a monumental conference, the Youth Leaders Conference in Addis Ababa. You guys, it's going to be incredible. We have leaders from all over the world converging in Ethiopia to talk about some of the very things that we're talking about here, to hear from some of the top minds in these industries that I'm talking about now: counterterrorism, tech, agriculture, business, all those types of things, cultural, even down to like culturally, music and arts and all those different things, all coming together in this place to start this conversation with these specific people. It's going to be incredible, and we are halfway there. We raised $100,000 already. We need another 100K to make this happen. You can help us today by going to ibsi.org/donate. You can scan the QR code right up here and do it. Thank you, Elizabeth. I see you there. Absolutely. I'll put this up here. You can, let's see here. Boom. Thank you, Elizabeth. You can be a part of that work. And so we invite you to do that now, even now as we're loading up that video. ibsi.org/donate, become a legacy builder, and let's make this thing happen. All right. Are we ready? Can we show it, producer? Let me know. If not, it's okay. We'll move forward. All right. Okay. All right, you guys. So just real quick, a couple of quick reminders. So I remind you of the conference in Addis Ababa. We'll also be in Southern California on February 1st. I'll be in Pittsburgh on February the 5th, doing an event at Temple Emmanuel. And I'll be there talking about the work of IPSI, also talking about Olga and the work we're all doing together in IPSI, Olga of blessed memory, my wife who passed away just at the beginning of this year, and sharing music and all those things. So if you're in the Pittsburgh area, you should definitely come out to this event. It's going to be very special. And then IPSI, we're going to be all over. We have a lot of things that we have to prepare for and to do. One of which is the conference in is a conference in Ethiopia. Okay, so I'm going to show you a different video. We're going to put the other video aside for now. We'll probably have it in our next Substack to talk about Somaliland, but I want to show you what I mean with this conference that's coming up in Ethiopia. We have a video for you on that, so check it out.
In September in Addis Ababa, the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel helped present a 3,000-year friendship celebrating the Africa-Israel relationship. The event was led by the Let Africa Go movement with support from the Israel-Africa Relations Institute and the Valop Group. The celebration was a tremendous success. After the celebration in Addis, IBSI announced its delegation of African and Black American leaders to Israel who would tour the country and join in the annual Ethiopian Seged celebration in Jerusalem. This all happened in November and was another tremendous success. Finally, IBSI announced the first annual Young Leaders Conference of African and Black American men and women. This conference is scheduled for February the 12th through the 14th, 2026 in Addis Ababa. We will gather some 100 delegates to discuss African Zionism, Pan-Africanism, education, business, technology, geopolitics, music, and much more. All that IBSI has done has been made possible by our amazing donors, and we need your help to continue moving forward. Instead of a traditional end-of-year giving message, we're asking you to help us cover the cost of the Young Leaders Conference in Addis Ababa. Just go to ibsi.org/donate and mark your tax-deductible gift with YLC 2026. Or to support any area of IBSI's work, go to ibsi.org/donate and simply select General. To learn more, go to ibsi.org and join our emailing list, or email us directly at info@ibsi-now.org.
You guys, so you heard the man. Scan the QR code now, go to ibsi.org/donate, and help us get all the way. We need your help to make this happen, you all. We need your help. Again, if you're doing it now, comment after you do it and say I did it. Let others know. Tell them to join in as well. We are almost there. And we need your help to get the rest of the way there. All right. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So the last thing I want to talk about here, I saved this one for last. I want to reiterate another article from our Substack that I talked about a little bit last week, but I want to dive into a little bit more. We already started talking about with Qatar, and it's called The Popularization of Jihadists. Our CEO and founder penned this a couple of months ago now, but it's continuing to ring true. If you have not read it, go to Africa Israel Weekly and check it out. I want to share with you a quote because there's a few quotes by especially these whether they're African or in the diaspora, leaders that have proven to be very prophetic. One of those quotes is from Bayard Rustin, who said, if world leaders continue to turn a blind eye to, at the time, Yasser Arafat and the PLO's terrorism against Israel, we're going to see that terrorism exported all over the world. And we have definitely seen that terrorism exported all over the world. Everything from plane crashes to car rammings to suicide bombings, all of that was popularized in that region and done to Israel by Arab terrorists. We turn a blind eye, we see it all over the place, right? Another quote is from, and I've said this before too, this is less prophetic and more just really calling it like I see it, but from the late UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, who said that the UN Security Council continues to focus narrowly on Israel, and there are other countries like Sudan who've not been able to say a word. Everyone's talking about Sudan now. He called it way back then. Okay. This quote is from he's the late Eldridge Cleaver, but the late former Black Panther Eldridge Cleaver, right? Who started off very anti-West, very anti-Israel, who had a complete 180 from not even traveling to Israel. He spent several years outside of the U.S. in primarily Algeria and Cuba. And he for himself saw the effects of communism. He saw the slavery and intense racism perpetrated on Africans by Arabs. And he came back to the U.S. a completely changed man. He said, one of the things he said was Arabs are among the most racist people on earth. They're more backwards in their racism than in the U.S. This is a man who was traveling there to stand in solidarity with his Arab brothers and sisters. And he saw something he never thought he'd see. Came back a staunch Zionist. One of the things that he said about the Arab-Israeli conflict in 1975, okay, this is the same year that Black Americans Supporting Israel Committee was founded by Bayard Rustin. Eldridge Cleaver said, in regard to the Arab-Israeli conflict, he said that after the Arabs began using oil as a weapon, Cleaver detected a shift in American policy toward Israel. And he said, one could foresee if that trend continued, the American government was capable of sacrificing Israel. Okay. What he was saying is Israel could definitely be used as a scapegoat, especially if they allowed themselves to be enticed and to kind of fall into the trap of money and oil and cooperating with Arabs for their own personal gain, which is what we're seeing right now, right? This is back in 1975. What we're seeing right now, for some, might be a shocker. And how could this happen? It's something that leaders, even back in the 70s, saw coming down the pipeline, that the relationship, the US-Israel relationship, could fracture, could fray. And you know what, you all, from a spiritual perspective, um, it was never meant to last forever. Whether it's Jews in the diaspora, or you look at ancient Israel in the scriptures, or Israel now, that those types of ages of peace really were just ages, right? They were eras that had their time and they ended. We're coming up on the Torah portion. It's not yet. I think it's next week of the death of Joseph. Right? There was peace. There's still the racism there. You see it hinted at in scriptures before, but you had this peace between the Hebrews and the Egyptians. Joseph brought his family, his father and his brothers and their wives, and they lived in Egypt, and they were living peacefully together and all that kind of stuff. Egypt was very prosperous under Joseph's. He was second in command of Pharaoh, all that stuff. And the way that Exodus opens up was, now there arose a new king who knew not Joseph, which doesn't mean didn't know who Joseph was. What it's saying, that language, what it's saying is he didn't care, right? He didn't care about Joseph, and all of a sudden now things became difficult for the Hebrews, and then more difficult, and then more difficult, and then to the point where any boy that's born, throw him into the river, kill all the baby boys. Right? We see this time and again in scripture. Those times of relative peace, they do not last forever. As strong and as vibrant as the U.S.-Israel relationship has been, it was only a matter of time before it began to fray. And the fraying was even, there were some leaders who could see the fraying even back in the 70s. What could potentially threaten that relationship? And that's happening now, you guys. So IPSI will continue to give you updates and share as we feel led to share about what's going on and the work that we're doing in the midst of all this. But again, one big way you can support us is becoming a legacy builder. Go to ibsi.org/donate and set up your monthly amount. We would greatly appreciate it, and we thank you. Hello in Somaliland. I see that comment there. I did have a video I want to share about Israel recognizing Somaliland's independence. And how that's been, other countries have been responding to that. I think it's Thailand that backed Israel in that. And so we'll be talking about that a little bit more next week as well. There's some huge implications to that. And I think continuing to show that Israel is making these moves and also making moves to make themselves independent so that they can actually partake in this very strong Africa-Israel future in the most authentic way possible. So we'll talk about that next week. Thank you all so much. Again, next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we're here. We'll be discussing this stuff. Follow us. Go to all our social media at IBSI Now. Become a legacy builder. Help us to reach. We're halfway to our goal for this conference in Ethiopia. Help us get the rest of the way. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for your support. And we'll see you next week. You guys have a good rest of your week. Take care.